Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to Clemson Postgame Live, the first live postgame reaction of the season. And unfortunately, it did not go to Tigers' way or any way that me and Jordan predicted it. And we're going to talk about everything that we saw in the game. This is our unfiltered live reaction to what happened in the game and what we saw. So we got a lot to talk about in today's episode. We will get to the comment section. Make no mistake about it. We'll talk about what's in our minds and what we saw, and then we'll go ahead and transition to the comment section, and we'll allow you guys to drive the show from there, ask your questions, make your comments, and we'll interact with you guys in that way. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. Me and Jordan do an all-in show every Friday at 5:30 p.m. We also do these post-game live reaction videos immediately following every single Clemson game. So if that's something that you're interested in, consider subscribing. Hit that like button while you're in here. Helps us out on these live videos. And as always, the super chat feature is available. It'll support what me and Jordan do here on the channel, and it will also support or ensure that you guys get your comments or questions read and responded to in the live show. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, what's up, my friend? Here we are again.
Here we are again.
Another year, same old stuff. Talking about week one, our first live show of the week of the 2024 season, first post-game live. And here we are talking about a blowout of Clemson football once again. It went nothing like I hoped it would go. And we got a lot to talk about, but it's good to see you in here.
Yeah, man. I was thinking like throughout the game, just watching it transpire, I was like, man, they're going to kill me. This is kind of the risky run when you call your shot. So, I mean, I don't have the comment section up right now, but we'll get into it. I know they're cooking right now. There's Georgia fans, Clemson fans alike. But that is what it is. It kind of set the stage. Like we acknowledged in the preview show that this was going to be. I mean, this was a possibility. Like, we both felt like Clemson was going to be competitive in this game, and that prediction was looking pretty good through two quarters, despite not looking the way we thought it would.
Right.
But you just kept waiting and waiting for some sort of life, some sort of semblance of an offense to show up in this game, and it just didn't. I mean, when you were down, when you drove down the field down 13-0, and you were in that red zone, that was the moment in the game where if you didn't score a touchdown, Georgia was going to feast.
That was
and it. That was the ball game, essentially, because you can only. I mean, it's the same things we talked about last year. You can only ask the defense to do so much. They gave you every opportunity to make this a competitive game, and there wasn't even in like an inkling of like maybe you'll actually take advantage of those opportunities. But we'll talk about it. A lot of things I disliked about the game, obviously, but I want to start with a couple positives because the negatives certainly outweigh, and we'll dive all into that. But what were some of the positive things that I'll let you go first? What were some of the positives on either side of the ball that you saw?
Positive. I got to start on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, that front seven for Clemson is ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. You could ask Georgia about it. It absolutely is a stifling defense. If only they had help, it would be dominant. But that front seven, particularly the front four, I was really happy with. I think the linebackers got some room for improvement from this game. I think they made quite a bit of mistakes, the linebacking crew, which I didn't foresee happening. But that front four was elite today. Another highlight is Avion Terrell is the real deal.
Oh yeah,
The real deal.
yeah, he was.
We knew that already, but he confirmed it again today. The real deal. I thought Jaden Lucas played pretty well today. It was good to see him out on the field. It was good to see him get through an entire game. I don't know that I've ever seen Jaden Lucas get through a whole game, but he did. So I think those were some bright spots from the defensive side of the ball. As far as the offensive side of the ball, Phil Maffa, I think did well today. I think he did the best with what he was given today, which was not very much running room at any point in time, but he was physical, he was downhill, and he showed his ability to be a really good running back if we can just give him the space to run the ball. Granted, you're going against a very elite Georgia defense, and they proved to be too much in the end as their offense got rolling. Another bright spot, I think, Jake Brenningstool. We got to get that guy involved early and often in the offense. He's just a mismatch nightmare. And the one-handed catch that he had, the catches across the middle, the physical plays that he had after he caught the ball, just not giving up, trying to get extra yardage. I think he was a bright spot today. And then the last guy I'll mention is Antonio Williams. He looked exactly like I thought he would look. He looked very quick out there. His routes looked good. He made some contested catches. He made those signature slants across the middle that he's known for. And I think that he looks confident. He looks like he's fully back and healthy from his injuries that he sustained last season that pretty much kept him out all year. So that's good to see. So there was a couple bright spots to the offensive side of the ball. And that front four of the defense, give them a huge shout out. They played their hearts out there today. And unfortunately, the offense couldn't get anything going for them. So those are my positives for the game today.
Yeah, you kind of hit on all of them. One other positive that I was pleasantly surprised with was, especially in the first half, I felt the offensive line held up really, really well. Cade Klubnik was not pressured a ton in that first half. It really didn't get till the latter stages of the game where it was very obvious that Clemson needed to pass the ball downfield, where Georgia was able to pin their ears back and get some pressure on Cade. But I felt like in the early stages of this game and throughout that first half, I thought they matched Georgia's physicality up front. I didn't feel like they were overwhelmed like in the 2021 game where like Georgia sent 3 guys and got home to DJ, and it was a sack fest. Like that was not what this game was. So I thought we saw some improved physicality from that group, and surely that's credit to Matt Luke and that aspect. We'll see. The injury to Marcus Tate is concerning. We'll kind of see what comes out of that. That about does it. I think we covered all the positives in this game. Oh, Nolan Hooser. Nolan Hooser made his first field goal.
He made his first field goal, so shout out to him.
It was a chip shot, but it went right through it didn't look crazy.
Hey, look here, chip shots were not gimmies.
They were not guarantees last year
for Clemson. So
no.
I'll take it. It looked good. He looked comfortable. So hopefully that'll continue, and that question will be answered as the season goes on for Clemson. But yeah, I think that about does it for the positives. We got 114 people in here right now, Jordan, and I just want to, before we dive into all the stuff we're really going to talk about, we kind of opened it up with the positives. Before we really dive into our feelings and our frustrations with this game, I want to give a quick shout out to the comment section. And then we got a few promotions for the show that we need to do. And then we will dive full head into this show and really get it going. We got James Harris in the house, John Sarian, Dogs Rolling Loud. Congratulations on your win. Steel Gamble, Tiger Tom, Dylan Spell, Isaac Smith, Cade Klubnik Enthusiast, Exploring with Ben and Sam, Dylan Spell, John Sarian, Abito, Porsche Pal, Tickle Tiger,
We got a lot more of them today. We probably won't be able to shout out everybody, but
Braden Story, yeah. DP, Hip Elf, on and on and on. Thank you, everybody, for getting into the comment section. Like I said, as we get through the show, we will turn it over to you guys, and we will answer your questions, respond to your comments, and have a discussion, and let you guys get your feelings aired out, right? Air your feelings out in the comment section.
sorry.
And
I had to put that one up real quick.
I ain't tickled right now. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you,
Tickle Tiger.
I feel you.
Untickled Tiger.
I'm pretty irritated, but make sure you guys hit that like button while you're in here. Now, a couple things have happened for the Clemson channel and all the college football channels in specific. We have put all of our long form audio, like our show we do on Friday at 5:30 p.m. This show, everything like that, it is on every audio platform. So that's Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast or anywhere you get your long form audio content, you can go ahead and catch Clemson Live here, and you can hear all of our shows there. So go check us out, rate and review there. That would be greatly appreciated. We also have a betting sponsor for the Voice of College Football as well. And there is a $99 Patreon tier that you can get some inside betting on, some good lines, some good quality betting advice if that's what you're into, if you're into college betting. So we'll go ahead and check that out real quick.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.
All right, you guys saw or heard that. Last but not least, I will mention Mark Rogers' morning show that he has introduced, the college football show. It's Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So go check out Mark chopping it up and talking about all things college football, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go check out Mark Rogers on the main channel. All right, guys, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the rest of what we need to talk about. I hate seeing that score up there, but in true fashion, we're going to keep it up there all episode, okay? So, Jordan, let's go ahead and get into what we saw, and let's break this game down in chunks, I think is the best way to do it. Let's go ahead and first half and then really the second half, because at the end of the day, this game was truly a tale of two halves, and the dam kind of broke as we went into the third quarter. So talking about the first half, at least for me, I think the Clemson defense played well. What were your thoughts watching this game in the first half? Again, we went to halftime. Georgia was up 6-0. The defense had played well. The offense really hadn't moved the ball very well. But at that point in time, as a Clemson fan, you had to feel pretty well about the position that your team was in. So what were your thoughts about the first half and how Clemson played both offensively and defensively, and how Georgia played as well?
Yeah. I mean, really, we got to start with the first drive of this game, because I think Clemson, everything that could have possibly gone wrong for that first drive, did go wrong as far as setting the tone. I think, because Clemson won the toss, like they had the opportunity and they elected to receive. They elected to receive in the first half. So clearly there was some kind of, like, they wanted to send some kind of message, like whatever the script was. And first play you get a legal motion penalty, or I don't remember what the sequence it was, but you had no, the first play was the little bootleg to Phil Maffa that
I got you. I got all the plays written down if you want me to go through.
Cool. It was to Phil Maffa that Cade just completely it was supposed to be an easy completion, easy pitch and catch. Phil Maffa gets running in space.
Yep.
Well, bad ball. Maybe I'd have to go back and watch it, but I thought maybe Phil could have caught that. It would have been a tough catch, but
it was a bad pass.
But it was mostly a bad pass.
It should have been a very easy pass to kind of get the nerves out of Cade and get a positive play. And if you look at the play, if Cade would have made a good pass, Phil Maffa probably would have picked up a first down on that play.
Yeah. There was he had a lot of space to work.
Separation there, and he would have probably, if not gotten a first down, he would have gotten close to a first down. And then that second play was that illegal motion that you were talking about by Adam Randall.
Who, well, I'll save that. And so so you have first play, bad pass.
Yeah, bad pass.
Yeah, it is what it is. Second play, illegal motion by Adam Randall. The third play, you get a nice play over the middle to Jake Brenningstool that he just flat out drops.
Just dropped it. Yep.
Like routine catch, routine pitch and catch. So like those first three plays, like alone, like really, not even first three plays, but first three like sequences.
Yep.
That set the tone for the rest of the game. I think they had a plan going in, and the moment that they got off script in that first drive, they looked completely lost.
Mm-hmm.
And so after then it was I think Georgia got an offside penalty or something, but
yes,
the third down pass, the third down play was just a short pass to Phil Maffa that was blown up,
like a 2-yard out in the flat pass to Phil Maffa that was meaningless, and then here comes Aiden Swanson out to punt the ball.
Yeah. So like I think that first drive would just told us everything about kind of how that game was going to go, especially in retrospect. And I had so many questions, like just about the overall philosophy heading into this, just in this game, and kind of the mentality that not just the players, but the coaching staff, Garrett Riley, and his play calling, like what were they trying to accomplish? Because it felt like they were calling plays just to call them. There wasn't really any sort of rhyme or reason to what they were doing. And I have a ton of issues with the personnel usage in this game, the personnel groupings, especially after that first drive. Like Adam Randall, we've talked about him ad nauseum this offseason about kind of what him blossoming into the receiver that we all hoped he would mean for this offense, and the ceiling of this receiving core, and what it would mean for Cade. You're a third-year player. You can't be. You're a third-year player. You can't be lining up incorrectly, illegal motion, whatever the case may be. Like that's stuff that freshmen are supposed to make. Those are mistakes that freshmen are supposed to make.
Yeah.
And you've talked about how you this is the best you've ever felt, and the staff was raving about him and what he's done in fall camp. But I don't. Today didn't show me anything. That's for sure. Just really, really disappointing from your older guys in that receiver room, other than Antonio Williams. And so Adam Randall, Cole Turner. I mean, we have you out there because you're supposed to be the fastest player on the team. You're supposed to be a deep threat, but you're out there quitting on routes. Like you have a step on your defender, and you're out here quitting on routes before, and you're not tracking the ball.
Yeah, how do you not see the ball?
Right.
Like, how are you out there running a go route on the sideline? You're 2 steps in front of your man, and you don't see the ball coming your way, so you just stop running.
Because he's not. He's just running. He's just running down. He's like, so he has the track speed. You see the speed on tape, but he doesn't actively look for the football. It's like, what's the point of running? What's the point of running that go ball if you're not going to turn and look for the football? Cade is trying to give you an opportunity, and like, if you're not tracking the football, you're not going to be able to run to wherever Cade throws it. Like, it's on you to be able to adjust. Like, you're not going to get a perfect ball that's just going to fall in your lap without looking. So I had so many questions about why you continued to play players that weren't that were actively, costing you drives.
Yep.
And costing you big plays. Like, why did it take so long to see Tyler? If Tyler Brown was non-existent in that first half, I don't have to go back and look how many times he was actually on the field, but it didn't feel like he was on the field all that much.
I don't remember seeing Tyler Brown until, and it could be just because they didn't go to him, they didn't throw the ball. He could have been on the field, but the first time you ever had a Tyler Brown sighting was the last play of the third quarter when he caught that ball.
Yeah. And there was no effort to get him the football. Yeah. That was my.
He had 0 targets. I know he had 0 targets up until that point, which is unacceptable. That's your leading receiver from last season. Why is he not being targeted until the last play of the third quarter when you're already, it's getting out of hand against Georgia? Why is that the first time we see Tyler Brown?
Right.
Why is Cole Turner out there on the field? I mean, nothing against Cole Turner at this point, but like, I'm done with that experiment, dude. I'm done. Yeah, I get it. Fastest player on the team, cool. Doesn't make you a good receiver. I'm sorry. And there's nothing against him, and I get it, but no, I don't want to see it anymore.
Like, Georgia's defensive backs, they played well in this game, but like, they were not flat out just like dogging you. Like, you saw, especially when they showed those wide shots and replays, you saw guys get steps, have a step like that play to that go ball to Cole Turner, the go ball to Adam Randall. That was an underthrown ball, but you still have to be able to fight back for it hit Adam Randall in the chest.
Yeah. And
they initially called pass interference, but they removed, which I thought was a good call by the refs. They that was pretty that was just pretty good coverage, pretty good. Like, even though the DB didn't really turn around, they were both kind of fighting, so I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So it's just like you have these third-year players that you are raving about all fall camp, all off season, and they come out and they make freshman mistakes. Like, it's like, okay, I don't expect you to. I didn't expect Adam Randall to have an 8-catch, 150-yard, 2-touchdown type performance in this game. That would have been nice. I didn't expect Cole Turner to hit, just to completely torch every single Georgia defensive back and look unstoppable out there. But the plays that we recruited you to make, you're not making, and you're actively being a liability in some instances with the penalties and stuff. So it's like, if you're not going to give effort, fighting for the football, if you're going to quit on your routes, like, why are you out there?
Yeah.
Like, what do we have you out there? I would have you. They talked, Garrett Riley and Tyler Grisham. They talked about how Bryant Wesco was basically a starter. How much did we see of him until the fourth quarter?
I didn't see him until the fourth quarter.
Right.
Now,
they said that Bryant Wesco they considered Bryant Wesco a starter.
Where was Troy Stellato at? Did you see Troy Stellato on the field today?
He was non-existent.
Where the hell was Troy Stellato at? And if he was on the field, he never got targeted. I didn't see Brian Wesco on the field until the fourth quarter.
Yep.
I mean, Tyler Brown, I didn't see him until the end of the third.
Yep.
What are we doing? TJ Moore, I didn't see him till the fourth quarter. Why? The other dudes weren't getting it done. I mean, what are we doing? Like, I don't understand. Like, I truly don't understand. I get Antonio Williams. He was on the field all day. He should be.
Yeah.
Absolutely should be. With number 22, I don't know what he's got. I don't know what he's doing on the field all day. Like, he's a starter. If he is.
Look, I didn't see it. I don't see it. I don't see like it.
You telling me he's better than Tyler Brown?
Right. Your speed does your speed does nothing if you don't know how to use it. Like if you're just great, you can run in a straight line, but you can't fight for you can't look for the football. You're quitting on routes. Like what it. So yeah, that first half. Well, I mean, really the entire game. The receivers not named Antonio Williams and the personnel decisions with the receivers that they get an F.
Yeah,
I think Antonio Williams is the only. I think if I had to it's not fair to separate Antonio Williams, but like Antonio Williams is the only thing from keeping that overall grade from an F. It would be like a D- or a D, like because man, it was just unimpressive. And we talked I drank the Kool-Aid on this receiver room, and they came out and didn't show me anything to get excited about. And listen, I do want to preface this. This is it's a long season. Like you and I have talked about, no matter what happens in this game, we're not going to extrapolate, too far into the future. Yeah. But what we wanted to see in this game was Clemson looked like they belong on the field. And the offense did not look like they belonged in that game. No. And, when the defense realized they weren't getting any help and Georgia made really good adjustments in that second half, it was over.
Yeah.
So,
the halftime adjustments from Georgia, absolutely, they put it together in the second half. They got their offense going. They found the holes and they found their way to move the ball against Clemson. And then from then on, it was effortless for their offense. And I hate to say it, but part of that is the defense knows the offense ain't got their back. Yep. They know they ain't going to go out there and score. So it's hard to get up every single drive and just be on the field constantly against that elite offense, knowing that your offense is over there. And as soon as they get on the field, they ain't going to get it done. They may get a first down or two, and they're going to be punting the ball again. That's tough. So for me, the first half ultimately came down to how the half started. Penalties, right? Shooting yourself in the foot. You went through that kind of progression that we went through. First play of the game. Should have been a gimme. Should have been a first down. First play. Swing pass to Maffa. He was wide open. Cade muffed the throw. Threw it in the dirt. Looked like DJU out there, right? But second play of the game, illegal motion. Adam Randall. Backing up again. Or backing the offense up. Drop pass by Brenningstool right over the middle. Offsides. Bailed out by UGA with an offsides. And then a 2-yard pass to Maffa. Punt. You couldn't have started worse. Yeah. And by the way, it didn't get better as the turnover went on. It didn't get better.
Yeah.
Second drive of Clemson's first half, right? First play, holding. Second play, Maffa had a good run. Third play, first down run by Maffa. All right, we survived that penalty, that shot in the foot, right? Fourth play, 33-yard run from Maffa. Fifth play, throwaway pass. Sixth play, slant, punt. There you go. There's your first two drives. Again, hampered by penalties, hampered by poor execution, hampered by too many plays behind the line of scrimmage. That was our first half. Our first half.
That throwaway, hold on, and wasn't that throwaway the play where Adam Randall was running and he was supposed to settle, and he kept running his route, and he ran right into a play. They were in zone, like you're supposed to settle, like that's something that especially being your second year in the system, third year overall in the program, that's something you should know how to do is settle in a hole in the zone. And so you saw Dabo chewing Adam Randall out on the sideline. Like,
Yep.
again, another instance of you making of one of your older receivers making freshman mistakes. And we got to. Pretty disappointing. I don't know who to point the blame at or point the finger at. I mean, you have to look. You have to start with their position coach, Tyler Grisham. They did not look prepared outside of one player, and Garrett Riley didn't do them any favors as far as scheming up easy completions and easy yardage. And that was really the difference in this game. Georgia didn't do anything like dynamic offensively. Like they weren't just like bombs away. That was pretty limited, but they did a good job of getting their playmakers the ball. And whenever easy yardage presented itself, they were able to take advantage of it. Whether it was a quick slant or whether it was using one of their quicker player like an Arian Smith on an end around or a pop pass or Dylan Bell using in the same instance, and just getting easy yardage to get you ahead of the chains. Like we didn't do that. Like you talk about that first play, the first drive, that was the kind of stuff that Georgia was doing. But once we did it, and the first time we did it, and we completely messed up, we didn't complete the pass. We're like, oh well, I guess we can't do that anymore. And so then it was there was just a lack of creativity and a lack of identity, a lack of purpose for what was being called. Like again, this is all just our raw reaction. I'm gonna go rewatch it as much as I don't want to, and kind of see what and kind of see what was going on from a more in-depth perspective. Because you can only see so much on TV, and you only get to watch it once for most plays. So certainly I probably missed stuff, but that's kind of what it felt like. It just felt like the same old Clemson offense, lack of identity, lack of purpose, inability to even the easy stuff looks difficult. What should be easy stuff looks difficult. It didn't look good.
I mean, you look at, and I'll go through the third drive real quick, and I'll leave it there by calling out specific plays, but it just shows the poor execution that Clemson operates with. You get an third drive, right? That big explosive play down the sideline did Antonio Williams. Great catch.
The only big play of the night for you.
The only explosive play we hit all the game, but it was a nice play, right? And your thought is watching the game, you're like, okay, all right, we got an explosive play. Now let's build on that, right? Then Jay Haynes comes in, loses a yard on the rush. Third play, short completion to Brenningstool. Fourth play, nice slant pass to Antonio Williams for a first down. Call back. Why? Because of a penalty.
Yeah.
Right? So shot yourself if you had a first down, another first down. Shot yourself in the foot, right? That's called back. Then you throw a nothing bubble screen to Antonio Williams with two dudes right there ready to tackle him, and then you punt the ball.
And that's one thing I did kind of notice watching. I have no reason to. I don't have any knowledge of this, but I think Clemson has a tell on those screens. I really do. Because I was watching Georgia's defensive backs, and they would every time a screen I noticed that they had like one DB would do this kind of hand signal and look back, whatever it was. I think Clemson has some sort of tell when it comes to their screen game, because Georgia was not fooled by it at all. Now and I'm sure Georgia certainly anticipated Clemson to run screens. That's a part of Garrett Riley's offense, but it just felt like they knew situationally when it was coming, and I think Clemson has a tell in there somewhere. Maybe a receiver. It might be something as little as a receiver's alignment or whatever. It's like, oh, that just kind of tips them off. But they look like they were all over. They were all over Clemson's screen game. It didn't look like they were, because whenever we attempted them, there was no room, and they just seemed to be all over. It's like they were just sitting right on.
That's good coaching, right?
Yeah.
Picking up on cues, picking up on things that tip you off on what they're about to do, and clearly that was the case. It's just, for me, if I'm being honest, the only thing that improved on this Clemson offense was the offensive line. It's the only thing that showed any amount of improvement. Pass blocking was not bad today. And I know Georgia's had struggles recently of getting pressure on the passer, so maybe that's some of it as well. But I'm proud of how the offensive line held up in pass pro. Running the ball was okay at times and terrible at other times, right? It was tough running the ball against Georgia. You knew that coming in. You weren't going to come in here and run the ball very effectively against a team like Georgia. I think Clemson ended up with 46 total yards rushing, which is not very good. But I think Phil Maffa made the best of, not very many holes that he was given. And the pass pro, I think, looked improved for the offensive line. We'll see if that holds up and that holds true throughout the year. But again, there we go. Marcus Tate.
Yep.
He goes down. His backup comes in. Nothing against Colin Sadler, but almost immediately you feel the effect of not having Marcus Tate in the game.
Yeah,
because they call a pull play.
Yeah, that QB counter,
and he just absolutely whiffs on that block. And if he would have made the block, Cade had room to go. Like, he had room to run.
Yeah, but you have to make that block. Yeah,
he didn't even touch it. I'm like, what? Like, the dude shook him like he was like, I don't like. It wasn't even. Anyways, doesn't matter. You felt the effect of it, and that's unfortunate. I hope Marcus Tate's okay. Hopefully, he can play next game, because it's clear that the 5 guys that played today are the best offensive line we got, and the ones that come in after that, there is a significant drop-off. Just judging by what I saw today, and it wasn't just that one play, because I was watching Colin Sadler after that. We need Marcus Tate to get healthy. I hope whatever happened does not keep him out long-term.
Yeah. All right. Let's people are we haven't really talked about Cade a ton. Let's just kind of let's dive into it. I think Cade has improved. I think as far as, like, when I watched him especially in the first half, I felt like his decision making was considerably better. I don't think the play calling did him any favors, but I didn't see he didn't have the WTF throws that he had so many times last year. It wasn't really until the second half, he threw that, he would throw that pick, but he was just trying to make a play at that point. But that was not the Cade Klubnik that, we were promised as far as, his improvement.
No.
And based on what had come out of fall camp, what had come out of spring, it's like watching this offense, like, I don't believe they were given, like, it's hard for me to believe that they were, like, what I can't say that, like, the people that are there were lying, but it's hard for me to see that offense giving Clemson's defense issues during the spring and fall. Like,
stop it. That offense didn't do nothing to that defense in fall camp. I don't care. Look, I don't care what they say. Now, they may be lying. They may just be trying to pump it up. I don't really care what they're doing, but it wasn't true. I can tell you that. I do not care. No one will convince me at all that offense gave that defense any trouble in fall camp at all. Maybe they had a rough period here or there where the defense wasn't executing or that, but, like, consistently, you're going to tell me that offense that you just trotted out there against Georgia gave that same Clemson defense that trotted out there against Georgia problems? No. Because Georgia's offense is about a light year ahead of your offense, and they struggled to figure out Clemson. It took them an entire half to figure out how to consistently move the ball against Clemson's defense. And part of
that was with no help from the offense.
Yeah, and part of that was Clemson's defense was on the field for a significantly longer amount of time, and they were getting no scoring and no help from their offense.
Yeah.
So eventually the dam breaks, right? which is what I texted you at halftime, right? I told you, I was like, hey, we got a chance here. The defense is playing great, but the offense has got to help because eventually Georgia's going to break through. And that's exactly what happened. Georgia broke through. Their offense is too good. Clemson's defense, for the most part, played about as well as they could play early in that game. Now, towards the end, they were giving up chunk plays and looked like they gave up a little bit and, stuff like that.
They were definitely worn down, and Georgia they smelled blood in the water, and they were, They were over from that point.
They were completely cooked at the end of that game, and you could see it. But it's frustrating to watch the offense. Cade specifically, I think he's improved some. I won't say he hasn't improved at all. I think he's improved some. Has he improved to the point where he can take Clemson where they want to go?
No.
Judging off of this game and this game
not
alone,
based off of this game, no.
Based off of this game, which is all we have to go off of, absolutely not. Not even close. Not even close. And he can't say that he was rushed this entire game and he didn't have time and all this. Yeah, I think the offensive line gave him plenty of time in this game to execute plays down the field. Yeah. They just didn't happen.
You couldn't afford to be shut out in that first half like you were. You had to
capitalize. When your defense was giving Georgia's offense all they wanted, that was when they were holding them to field goals and they were keeping them out of the end zone. That was Clemson's chance to score touchdowns and get on the board and put the pressure on Georgia. Instead, they pissed away the opportunity. They allowed it to just fall away. The defense gave you a shot in the first half. You had to put up points in that first half. And again, 2 games in a row, 8 quarters. What is that? 8 quarters now. Clemson's gone through and played Georgia and can't put up an offensive touchdown in 8 quarters.
And what's funny? This is and even just like not even Georgia. This is 2 out of your last 3 games that played in general where you haven't put up an offensive touchdown because you didn't against South Carolina. Yeah. So it's like, in South Carolina, you had at least some extenuating circumstances in the South Carolina game. Like this, you have most of your guys healthy, and supposedly, obviously, we didn't see certain players that we thought we would see. So maybe I'm way off on that, and they just.
This is crazy right here. John Sarin says Dabo called out the defense in the second half for missing so many tackles. I haven't watched his post-game presser, but he better be calling out that daggone offense, that atrocious, just terrible offense that trotted out on the field for 4 quarters. Don't call out that defense. Guess what? That defense would have made the tackles if the offense would have done what they were supposed to do in the first half and score freaking touchdowns. Instead, they just want to leave this defense high and dry. I'm so sick as a Clemson fan of trotting out these elite defenses year in and year out and freaking wasting them with this piss-poor offensive play that Clemson trots out there. And every freaking offseason, they're freaking baiting us into because we care about the program and we're freaking so emotionally invested and we want the program to rise back to the heights that it was so bad that we buy into this crap, and then they trot it out on the field and it looks like crap once again. That offense was terrible. It was awful. Plain and simple. Don't blame the damn defense. The defense didn't do nothing. The defense gave you a chance. You would have gotten beaten 80-0 if it wasn't for that defense.
Yeah, definitely. And listen, like Georgia's defense is really good. Kirby Smart's defense has always been elite. There's 212 people in here. I know probably most of you aren't Clemson fans. Probably a lot of Georgia fans. Georgia's defense certainly gets a ton of credit. But man, I've seen teams with less talent than Clemson score touchdowns on Georgia, at least one. I mean, yes. It's at a certain point you have to wonder because I felt like one of the biggest things that had separated Georgia from Clemson was the play on the line of scrimmage offensively. Like Georgia was the one that was putting in, it was putting in NFL, offensive linemen. Yeah, and they were the ones that were able to be physical on both sides of the football. I felt like Clemson had one of the two, but not obviously the offensive portion. That's just been a struggle for years. And you watch this game and you're like, okay, we're not getting completely manhandled up front. Surely that should open a lot of things up, right? And it didn't, because again, it was such a passive, game plan of the passive, just offensive philosophy that entire game. It just felt like they were terrified to test Georgia at all. They didn't really try them. The big play to Antonio Williams, that was your one big play, and then you tried to hit a couple of go balls at the end of the first half, but there was no continuous pressure. There was no pressure on Georgia's defense to really worry about the deep ball, and that was the thing that we had talked about, just ad nauseum. Not even just in the preview show, but leading up to the game, all throughout the offseason. Like we said that teams have to be able to respect your downfield passing game, or nothing else nothing else matters. If they don't fear your ability to go down the field and hit a big play in the passing game, you're basically handcuffed at that point from an offensive perspective, and that's what it was. You really didn't try to, especially with the questions that Georgia had at corner, with some of the inexperience, and you really didn't test them that much at all. Like that's pretty disappointing. So yeah, I'm again try not to extrapolate too much, but yeah, that was the most disappointing aspect of this, was like you didn't even try really to. You didn't even really try. You played scared offensively, and not just the players, but the coaching was scared too. So I don't know what the solution is. We'll see how they respond to this. And App State, certainly not a easy bounce back type of game. So they're gonna have to bring it, because if they call the game like they did today, App State they'll be in a dogfight with App State in the first half. So we'll see.
Yeah, look, I'm just frustrated with Clemson and where they're at right now, and like I said before, I'm just sick of wasting elite defense with an offense that can't even get out of its own way. We can't even line up properly.
Yeah.
We're killing drives by lining up improperly.
You didn't see Georgia's receivers doing that. They have transfers playing.
You got third-year receivers giving up on routes and not seeing that the ball was just thrown to them, and a safety coming over top about to intercept it.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's crazy. Look, the offense has not improved at all. The offensive line improved some, but that's the only thing that progressed on the offensive side of the ball, in my opinion. Cade may have slightly improved
based on what we saw today.
But really, I think the only improvement we saw from Cade today is because he had much more time than he had last year, and that's really the offensive line that did that. Outside of that, there wasn't any improvement on this team, at least not on the offensive side of the ball. Front four on the defense is elite. Linebackers need to play much better going forward. They are way too good and talented. Wade Woodaz took some terrible angles to tackles today. He got crossed up far too many times. So I saw him get turned around far too many times. Wade Woodaz has got to play better. He's a much better linebacker than he showed today. TJ Parker, he's got to make his presence felt more. That front four is elite, but he's got to make his presence felt more. He did a good job. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on him, but we gotta see him more, right? But shout out to the defense. I think they did all they can do, and I know everybody in here, or some people in here, was like, the defense shouldn't be gassed after the first half. They weren't gassed after the first half. But there's a set of coaches on the other side of the ball, on the other side of the field, making halftime adjustments. Clearly, Clemson didn't do any of that with their offense, but Georgia did, and they made some adjustments and they found some plays. And when you start finding plays, there's this thing called momentum, and their offense definitely started clicking. And deep down inside, I don't care who you are and what you say in an interview, but Clemson's defense knew that offense wasn't going to come out there and rescue them with touchdowns. So at a certain point, it's really hard to keep pounding your head against that brick wall. Eventually the dam breaks. You see this all the time with teams that have really good defenses and not good offenses when they go up against a team like Georgia. It happens all the time. So I don't blame anything on the defense, although I think they have things to clean up, and they do definitely have things that they need to do better. Tackling out in space was good at times and then really bad at times. So definitely things to clean up on the defensive side of the ball for Clemson, but overall pretty good against that level of offense and that level of team. I'll take it. The offense, I mean, we're back at square one. I don't know what to say about the offense. I got nothing. I honestly got nothing.
Well, I think it's if Dabo is about what he said he was going to be, and we talked about kind of what the mentality was after the 4-4 start last year, and now nobody's job is safe in terms of coaching staff and player wise. Like nobody's safe. Like he needs to have that mentality this week. I don't mean on the staff because you're not going to fire anybody midseason, but like the player, you got to have like the players. Absolutely. Like I feel bad for Adam Randall and Cole Turner. I don't know what that because they're going to get a talking to. Because I felt like they played so much simply because they were the older guys in the room, and they're the senior leadership of the wide receiver room, along with Antonio Williams.
Yeah.
But they didn't play like – so it's like, okay, well, you need to – there has to be a strict point where you're like, okay, well, if you're not going to give it if you're not going to give us what we need you to give for this offense to be successful, then we're just going to play the younger guys. And so, I mean, get Bryant – I at this point, I'd much rather playing a lot more snaps. I'd like to see more choice to lot because I'll have to go back and look in the snap count, but I know he didn't play a ton. He didn't see a ton of snaps.
No, he didn't see a ton of snaps. Tyler Brown didn't see a ton of snaps.
Tyler Brown didn't. Yeah, so it's
Brian
like
Westbrook didn't see a ton of snaps. TJ Moore didn't see a ton of snaps.
Right. So it's like it's like running against a brick wall and expecting something to. So I think you give them an opportunity. If you give them an opportunity against App State, it better be you got one drive. If you're making the same mistakes, I'm yanking you. We're making the change. Like there needs to be a stricter
and I think
as far as that,
honestly,
that goes.
I think they already showed you what you needed to see. They don't start. I mean, if
I'm with you, but I was like, I wasn't going to freak out if I saw them like first drive next week. But if I were in Dabo's shoes, they're not starting next week.
They don't start next week against App State. I'm rolling Antonio Williams out there, Tyler Brown, and Brian Wesco or TJ Moore, some combination of Troy Stellato, Antonio Williams, Tyler Brown, and TJ Moore, and Brian Wesco. Some combination of that is going out there first. And Adam Randall and Cole Turner can watch from the sideline.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, but, it is what it is.
It's one thing if you were just flat out, if Georgia's DBs were just flat out mauled like you, but you're making just simple mistakes that are actively costing you drives. Like it's not even just you're getting out talented by a talented defense. You are flat out, handicapping your offense by not doing the little things right, like the fundamentals things, like that, the stuff that at any level of football. So I'm not going to extrapolate too much about the outlook of this season, and we have said that as much because we knew, you're playing the number one team in the country. You're fighting an uphill battle as far as the result is concerned, but just very, very disappointing from certain players that we had high hopes for that have been in the program. So we'll see kind of how they respond. It's going to be a very unpleasant week because I feel like Dabo expected a better performance. I don't think he expected to win this game necessarily, but I know he expected better than what we saw today, and that's just it's going to be very uncomfortable in the film room for certain players.
Yeah,
so,
as it should be. Should be a very uncomfortable week for everybody, specifically on that offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Both coach and players. Everybody should be a very uncomfortable week.
I will say this: we talked about Phil Maffa. I thought he mostly did a good job. There were a couple of moments I didn't like. The cut block, and that's something that I've seen him do before on that. I don't understand. Phil Maffa is 6 foot. How was 6'1", 235 pounds.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Somewhere in there. What are you doing cut blocking?
I don't know.
Who is? I hope he's not being coached to do that. Because that is.
Put your face in there and block that dang blitzer.
Right.
You are too big.
Too damn big.
Like
you're blocking like you're 180. Like you're an 85-pound running back. No, you are 230 pounds. Yeah. Block. If you get blown up, fine. I mean, it's Michael Williams, top 5 at worst pick in the draft. Like he's an elite player, but you are too big, too damn big to be cut blocking.
100%.
That is, and I don't think it was a dirty, intentional thing. I just think that's something he's probably done in the past that hasn't been coached out of him. Like you should not be cut blocking.
Yeah,
if I'm CJ Spiller in the film room, I'm telling him,
don't ever do that again.
Don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
If you get destroyed, you get destroyed. But don't ever do that again.
Put your face in there and block, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do better on that. That was not. I did not like to see that. I hate that he got banged up. So hopefully he's fine.
He seemed to be okay, but
I think he came back in the game and played, so I don't think it was anything serious, which is good. But I mean, that could have been bad.
That could have been worse. That
you
could
put
have
your
been worse.
shoulder pad on somebody's knee like that, man.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I that was the one. That was the only moment from him that I just absolutely hated. You should never at your size. You should never be cut blocking.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe that he did it. Like when I saw it, I didn't see it real time, and then when they went back to the replay, I was like, "What in the world are we doing? Like, why are you cutting him?" Plus, that's just a dangerous play to make. Like, I'm glad it's a penalty because you shouldn't be doing that to anybody, regardless of what your size is. But
I mean, Clemson knows all about it from playing Paul Johnson's Georgia Tech teams over the years. Like, it's not only. I mean, it's annoying. I mean, especially anyone that's played at high school football, and you've probably played an option team or two.
Yeah.
Though you shouldn't, like, that's just stop. Don't do that. You're too big. Block the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Put a hat on a hat, and you hit the weight room too. Like that should be your job.
Like Jarvis Green,
right?
Maybe cut blocks.
You're undersized.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're undersized, and that dude's going to freaking run through you. But you got to be squared up if you're going to do it, right? You got to do it from the front, not from the side at all. So, but film off is too big for that. So, anything else you want to talk about in the game before we kind of transition and chop it up with the comment section here?
Some of the things defensively, it was what it was. We talked about it. I thought that your interior defensive line played pretty well. They limited Georgia's run game for the majority for most of that game, and then the dam broke. I'm not over. I saw some things I did, some things I didn't like. Clearly, Georgia knew that they exploited Clemson kind of east to west a little bit. Like we were very slow at reacting to it, especially. And that broke some big run plays. I thought Barrett Carter was fine. A few missed tackles that's just something he's going to do. Sometimes it's like he's too athletic for his own body at times. Defensive backs can't really ask too much more. They didn't really test you deep a ton. I thought Jaden Lucas had some really good moments. Yeah, that touchdown was scored on him, but he was kind of put in a really difficult situation, being lined up one-on-one with Colby Young, and no help, especially with Colby Young having outside leverage there on that fade. So I could probably nitpick and talk about some things I didn't like, but overall, everything stemmed from your inability to sustain drives offensively. I feel like a lot of things that the defense didn't do well would probably look a little bit different had you been able to sustain drives. So, not much else to say. Let's chop it up with the comment section. We got a ton of people in here, a lot of people.
That's right. We've got 150 people, 153 people in the live chat right now. Hit that like button while you guys are in here. Please help us out. Hit that like button. Consider subscribing. Me and Jordan do a weekly show every Friday at 5:30 p.m. called the All In Show. We also do these post-game live videos immediately following every Clemson game. So consider coming to hang out with us long term. You do not have to be a Clemson fan. What do we got in the comment section?
Yeah, and of course, if you want to make sure that your comment is read, the super chat feature is available. But yeah, we have a couple starred. I'll hit on those. Adam says, "I refuse to believe that the offense could score on that defense in fall camp." Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it for sure. Yeah.
Me too.
Who knows? Maybe it was just a really, really bad game, and this isn't reflective of what they'll be the rest of the season. But we've seen enough of this story, before to kind of doubt that, the offensive issues have been fixed. It was just a bad game. I don't.
Nope.
This team still I think this group still has a long way to go.
Long way.
Jay says, "Wait, where? Yeah, on the Stellato thing. Where was Stellato? Yeah, I don't know. Like, was he not healthy?
That's a great question.
There was no indication that he was dealing with anything, but
he missed the bus.
Yeah,
did he? I don't know. He forget his keys and couldn't get into the locker room. I don't know where he was. Yeah. I didn't see him at all.
Yeah, me neither." Hustler Inc. says, "Did you see DeAndre Hopkins' tweet?" Yeah, I did. On the right before I got on here, I don't know if you saw it, but he tweeted out. He said, "This team has playmakers, but yet and they only scored 3 points. Something's got to change." Yeah,
he's right.
I agree.
Right.
I mean, I really don't think it's a player issue. from the standpoint of like you don't have the players. I think you might be playing the wrong players in certain spots. Well, but I could be wrong about that. Maybe it really is a player thing. But man, like
who recruits the players?
Yeah, exactly.
So at the end of the day, it's the coaches.
Yeah. All right.
You recruit your own position group that you coach. So if your position group sucks, guess what? You picked them.
Exactly.
And you're coaching them. So in my eyes, it's on you.
Billy says several mediocre teams scored 20 on Georgia last year. And I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's okay to I understand that Georgia's defense is really, really good, but like you go back and watch some of their SEC games, and like teams were able to at least put together drives at some points during those games. Like
that's the problem.
Auburn gave them all they could handle. Georgia Tech was able to scheme up better offense than you were against Georgia. Like we don't even have to talk about the Alabama game. Spencer Rattler in South Carolina last year put up 14 in the first half last year. Like,
unfortunately, that means we are below a mediocre offense.
Yeah, that's the concern. That is the real thing is that you like.
You're right. Several mediocre.
That's the conclusion you have to draw because it's. I really don't. Again, I'll have to go back and watch the tape, and maybe I'll feel differently. But man, I really did expect a different. I mean, beyond me picking the win, like I really did expect more from this group, offensively. That was disappointing. John says Georgia also builds a team with NFL players without any interest in college, much less degrees. That's tough to match unless you do the same. But that's the thing. Like I don't think that it was really the type of players that you recruit. Because we talked about it. Like there were other teams that don't recruit as well as Clemson were able to produce better offensive performances against Georgia's defense. Like they're really, really good, but like you can't just explain away putting up 3 points. Like that is not an average Georgia defensive performance, even from last year. They allowed 15, 16 a game last year. Yeah. Like I didn't watch that Georgia team and think, oh, that's the 2021 Georgia team that held you to 3 points. Like there really is. It really is whatever it is. Whether it's a coaching issue, I don't know, but it's more than just the type of how well you're recruiting, because there are teams that recruit worse than you that are able to scheme up and put together better offensive performances. So maybe it was just a bad game, but again, we've seen this story before, and this didn't. You
don't have to prove to me that Georgia's defense was just that good.
Yeah,
you got to prove to me. I'm not saying Georgia's defense isn't really good. They are, but Clemson's also has a bad offense. So
yeah. So I can't explain it away with just Georgia recruits a bunch of players that don't care about graduating, and they all they care about is like no. Yeah, that's I can't get with that.
I don't care about that. That's got nothing to do with anything when it's between the lines and the whistle's blown,
right?
And the clock.
Alabama had a 90-something% graduation rate. They recruit as well as Georgia, and they beat them last year.
That's just stuff for conversation and for people to talk about. That has no bearing on any college football game ever.
Yeah. Let's see. JR, yeah, Maffa is too big to cut block. Yeah, absolutely. Mike says, what size jersey y'all wear? I'm going to get y'all a Stafford and Gurley jersey. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good on that.
Oh, man.
Good players, but
great players.
I'm good. Yeah, Dylan says we should have taken more shots with Dalen Everett covering. I mean, like, and not even just Dalen Everett. Like, you knew you were facing a Georgia secondary, especially at corner, that had some questions. And so but you really didn't even really try to test them. That's the
yeah. I mean, we talked about it in the preview last night. You can't dink and dunk down the field with this Georgia team. I said it last night. It's not going to work. And what did Clemson do? Go out there and try to dink and dunk down the field against Georgia. And what happened? You didn't score a freaking offensive touchdown. Go figure. You have to push the ball down the field against Georgia. You have to. And if you can't do it, you're not going to put up any points. It's plain and simple.
Yep.
Either you can do it or you can't.
And the few times you did put drives together, that was the thing. Like, Georgia did such a good job offensively, especially in the second half. Was they knew they took advantage of, they created mismatches. They did things, especially in the red zone. That was a good play to isolate, Jaden Lucas on Colby Young, and knowing that he had outside leverage, and it was just an easy pitch and catch for Carson Beck. Like, you didn't see that in the red zone for Clemson. Like, no real use of Jake Brenningstool, knowing what he presents in the red zone.
Right.
You really didn't attempt. Like, it was. I just didn't understand it. And you talked about the QB counter when Marcus Tate went down and you put in Colin Sadler. Like, why would you call that play and put that on a player that just came on in the game to, like, he was going to be the difference on whether or not that play was successful or not? Like, why that play call, knowing that you just, if Marcus Tate was still in the game and you call it and he whiffs on the block, okay, it is what it is. But you have a guy that just came into the game, from an injury, and now he's being asked to pull and make a big block on a future NFL defensive lineman. And if he doesn't, the play is dead. Yeah. Like, it's just there doesn't seem to be any regard for personnel or anything as far as what Clemson is doing offensively. And so I don't it falls on Garrett Riley and Dabo, but I don't know who shares more blame in that, but it's
first and foremost it's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the one teaming, you're the one calling plays. It's your offense. You're the one with the headset on calling all the plays. And I know people are going to be like, well, Dabo's got a hand in it. Sure he does. Every head coach in the country's got a hand in everything. It's their program. But Garrett Riley's calling the plays. So first and foremost, it's him. Secondly, it's Dabo's fault. So they just got to do better. Plain and simple.
Yeah. It really is. It really is baffling at times. John has a BYOG or sell. He says Riley's not able to get this offense turned around this year. Better just not playoff ready. Can I hold?
He's not able.
So I guess BYOG. If you were to say BYOG, that's Riley is. That Riley won't be able to get this offense turned around, and it won't get. I'm going to cheat and say hold, because I really do want to see how they look next week. That will tell me a lot.
Yeah,
that'll tell all of us a lot about how they come out next week.
If I had to make a decision right now, I'd buy it.
Yeah,
I got no belief.
If you hold a gun to my head,
I got
say
no belief in this offense right now. Zero belief in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, some people will be like, well, it's the first game of the season. You never want to put I'm not putting too much in it. This ain't the first time we've seen this Clemson offense trot out there and look exactly like they just looked.
Yep.
This is a continuation of the same stuff. Same stuff, different year. That's where I'm at right now. So I'd be more than happy if Garrett Riley and this offense wants to get it together and prove me wrong. But right now, I buy it.
Yep.
I'm
with you.
This offense had literally zero answers in this game, and that's ridiculous. It's absurd.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting it to magically work on the next drive when it didn't work the 6 drives before.
Right.
Why are you going to do that? I mean, come on.
And that's the thing. Like, defense, like there's no such thing as a perfect defense. There's no such thing as a perfect play call defensively. Like everything you call on defense, you are giving up something. There is something that you are giving up. And the good offensive coordinators are the ones that are able to identify what you're giving up and taking advantage of it.
Yep.
Clemson didn't do that. That's for sure. Like that's a problem. That's a problem. Death Valley Tiger said, I thought the corners tackled very well. Yeah, I was pleased with it, especially in the first half. That was one thing I was very worried about, was especially with how quickly Georgia likes to get the ball out. We talked about it in the preview. Georgia was one of the fastest from snap to throw in all of college football, and it wasn't because Carson Beck was getting pressured. It was because Carson Beck gets the ball out. They do a lot of quick game, and so that means you have to come down and tackle. Your defensive line isn't going to have a ton of time to get a pass rush home. Mm-hmm. But they came down, and I thought they tackled pretty well. Safeties too, like especially on some really key plays that otherwise could have been big plays. R.J. Mickens had a couple of really nice tackles. I saw Kylan Griffin make a really, really key tackle on that. I think it was that slant to Dylan. I would think it was Dylan Bell, and Avion Terrell was in coverage, and Kylan Griffin was the only thing keeping that from being a touchdown, and he made that tackle. Like that was good, especially from a second-year player.
Still some whiffs out in open space, I think, for the Clemson defense, but overall it was pretty good with tackling. Week 1 tends to be where you make your most whiffs on tackles. Like I said, Wade Woodass got his feet crossed up a few times.
Yeah, he did.
Look here, bro. Come on now. You're too fast for that. He's got some speed, so you can't be getting crossed up like that. But he'll play better, I'm sure. I got no doubts. Jim says outcoached in the second half. Yes. Oh, yeah. Clemson was completely outcoached.
On both sides, really, but especially
on both sides of the ball. I mean, on the offense, Clemson's offense versus Georgia's defense, it was just more of the same.
Yeah.
But the defense, the Clemson defensive staff definitely got outcoached in the second half by the Georgia offensive staff. They made the adjustments, and Clemson wasn't able to figure it out from there. So outcoached, yes. Brandon Jones says, to the people that say we are holding back for the rest of the God.
I don't know who's saying whoever
Look, Brandon, I hope you don't know anybody personally that's legitimately out there making this argument. This has got to be the dumbest, most like Homer fan argument. And you see it every year by various college football teams and various fan bases talking about, they're saving plays or they're saving this or they're stop it, man. Yeah. Stop. You don't go play the number one team in the country and be like, hey, we're going to save this for App State next week.
Yeah.
You're playing Georgia, bro. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
No. You're playing the best in the country. There's nothing to save anything for.
Right. You do whatever you have to do to win the game.
Yeah,
in these
go
types
win
of
a
games.
game.
And we certainly didn't do that.
Anybody making that argument, you can't take them serious. They have no clue what they're talking about.
Double a City says, I feel like the problem is not the offense, but the coaching for the offense has been bad for the past few years. The defensive coaching was good. They were able to stop Georgia in the first half. And, that's what we've talked about. And, what we had hoped that, was the improvement that was most impactful this offseason was the coaching changes that you've made over the past couple of years. Well, it has not. If it has, it has not bore its fruit yet. That's for sure. I think again, I still am extremely high on the Matt Luke hire, and I thought the offensive line had overall they played pretty well. I think it wasn't until like you were in obvious passing situations and you were down. And Georgia didn't have to fear you running and putting a drive together that they really started to pin their ears back. But I thought they held up well. I never watched the offensive line and felt, oh man, they're overmatched in this game. So, and that was something we wouldn't have been able to say even last year. And so, and certainly not the last time you played Georgia. So I thought that was something to take away. If there was anything, was that I felt like the offensive line was properly prepared for this game from a physicality standpoint. They looked like that they held up pretty well in a lot of spots and gave Cade an opportunity. And but you weren't able to do anything with it, and that's disappointing. Hustler Inc. says Cam Ward is balling against Florida. Yeah, I have not been able to tune into that game. What's the score right now? Because that's 17-3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, good looks. Miami seems to be the only team that wants to represent the ACC today. Did Virginia Tech end up winning? I never saw the final score to that. No, they didn't. They lost in overtime. Wow. Yeah. I think you're muted. But yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no, they lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Well, Miami by default looks like the best team in the ACC right now. So yeah. That's for sure. I don't even. They're up. Well, and I don't even have to watch. I haven't even watched a second of the game. But you're up 17-3 on an SEC team. That's better than anything anybody else has done.
Better than what we trotted out there today. Yeah. I can give you that.
That's for sure.
We don't have Cam Ward.
Yeah, Garnet Lee says no. Bentiker. Yeah, that. I wasn't sure where he would fall in the depth chart. Clearly, they don't feel like he's ready to play. But man, I don't know. I mean, a guy with his physical ability. I mean, especially if you're not going to utilize the other guy. We only saw Jake Brenningstool. And Josh Sapp as an H-back. Like we didn't even do anything with that. We did he ever leak out like in the passing game at all? Like maybe once or twice. Like we didn't really see much of Josh Sapp. We didn't really see anything of Olsen Pat Henry until the game was out of reach, and he didn't get any run. I don't think Marcus Dixon played a snap. So it's like, well,
saw Pat Henry out there, but every time I saw him out there, it felt like he was blocking instead of running routes.
Exactly, which Olsen Pat Henry coming out of high school, like he was basically a receiver playing tight end, and we don't use him. So I don't know.
I don't get it.
Tough to grade the tight ends because we did nothing with them other than Jake Brenningstool on a couple of plays, and one of the plays he made, it wasn't even designed. It wasn't even by design. It was just him bailing out like Cade scramble drill.
Yep.
Hell of a catch. That I mean,
great catch.
We know how good he is, how talented he is. So that
showed his athletic ability and his hands definitely showed it off there. But we got to get him more involved. We just did.
Hard Take says, let's not forget Tyler Brown played hard, but Wesco and Moore should have been on the field for a series. Well, and knowing that Adam Randall and Cole Turner were going to give you what they gave you, absolutely.
Yeah. They all three should have been on the field.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they weren't.
Yeah. Just personnel groupings that just did. Georgia was not scared of you at all, and you played scared of them, and that's the most disappointing thing.
Joshua Miller, Adam Randall killed 2 drives because of penalties. Cade took a sack when he should have just thrown it away, thrown the ball away. Yeah, so that drive particularly where Cade took that huge sack, and then we ran quarterback draw on 3rd and 22.
3rd and 22, yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Like, was that designed?
I don't think so. Watching it, because it looked like the play clock had ran down,
and Cade decided to just forget it, snap it, and I'll take off.
Well, because they knew that Georgia was going to load. It seemed like they were going to overload the right side, and it's like but the decision to I don't know, to set the protection or whatever, it came too late in the play clock. I think I don't know if it was a design quarterback. It didn't feel like that was the design.
It shouldn't have been. Georgia was already it was going to be a free rush to Cade if he didn't run. Based off of the look that I was watching it real time, oh man, they are they have two Blake Miller is going to have to block 2 people here because Phil Maffa was lined up on Cade's left side too, so there was no way he was getting over there. Yeah, but to that point, it was you gotta have a hot route. You gotta have a check down. You got to be able to check that, and then a receiver's got to become that hot route guy.
Yeah. Maybe it was designed that way because that's the only thing that makes sense on why you would allow a free rusher, because that was what was going to happen. I mean, that's basically what happened. But I'll have to go back and watch it. It looked dead from before the snap, and that's another thing. You should never be able to look at a particular play before the snap and be like, oh, it's dead. The play call.
Oh yeah, I knew before they snapped it.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, this ain't going. Yep, nope,
it's not gonna work.
Nope.
So that was something too. Jason says total lack of creativity with the offensive play calling. Play calls were conservative and predictable. Subpar quarterback in running back play. Receivers didn't get enough attention to rate the play. The lack of creativity certainly was very disappointing. It just, again, you played scared. It was very vanilla. You didn't really do anything you didn't do anything to create easy yardage for yourself. It was just our idea of easy yardage is throwing a screen or or attempting a quick slant or something. And what's funny is when we did it, it worked, but we didn't do that, enough. And we don't really have any ways to get our playmakers the ball, in an easy fashion. It just, everything looks difficult. And again, with the screens, I feel like Clemson has some sort of tell there because Georgia was all over it. And then not even just you were getting beat to the edge, they were just sitting on top of the screen. They didn't even have to, their linebackers didn't have to run over and make a crazy play. They were on top of it. The DBs were sitting down on them. I don't know. I think they might have a tell there. Jay says Garrett Riley seems like he went into the game saying we're going to run this offense regardless of the opponent. I mean, it did. It was just kind of a very stubborn game plan, and it was the same. I don't want to say they called the same plays over and over again, but there was nothing. They didn't give Georgia any different looks. They showed what they showed in the first half, and in the second half, it was just more of the same. Formationally, personnel groupings. I don't know. It did not look good.
This is interesting right here. Cade put his mouthpiece in only during run plays, kept it out for pass plays. Fun fact. I don't know if that's true, but
if that's
if
true,
it is, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about tells. Like that would be a tell. I'll have to go back and pay attention to that.
When I go rewatch the game, I'm definitely going to key in on that. I did see his mouthpiece in the top of his face mask a lot during the game, but I didn't really pay attention to when he moved it or when he didn't.
Yeah, that's something. And listen, that Georgia's coaches are smart. Like if that is something if that is indeed the case, that is something they absolutely would pick up on.
Yeah,
especially if the average fan can pick up on it too. Like
right.
Yeah, if they're paying attention to that, like that's. I hope to God that's not true. He also says, the reason screens don't work is just spacing. They don't respect our deep game, so they can stay close. Yep. Screens are useless without the absolutely. I mean, and again, like screens are used as an extension of the run game, and if it's the same thing. Like if they don't respect our run game, if they don't respect our run game, they're not going to respect our deep ball either. They don't have to respect our deep ball, and so it's the same sort of philosophy, just on the edges. Like they can, it's the same principle. Like defenders can play closer to the line of scrimmage because they know that you're not going to do anything over the top. And Georgia took that gamble, and they were 100% right in doing so. Just like a lot of teams that beat Clemson last year, and over the past few years, it's like they are terrified to throw deep. They're not going to. They're not going to, and even when they do, the chances of them completing it are low. If they put it all together today, so be it. But we're just going to sit down on everything, and make them, and Clemson was like, okay, you're going to sit down on everything we do. Well, we're just going to keep running it anyway. Okay,
we're not going to go over the top.
No. We're not gonna, we're not gonna do anything to try.
We're not gonna make you pay for
that.
We're not gonna make you pay for cheating down.
Right.
We're gonna bang our head into this wall and pretend like it's suddenly gonna work.
Yeah. Did not keep Georgia honest in the least bit.
No.
And that's disappointing. Jay says, what sucks the most is that Garrett Riley still doesn't know what works and what doesn't with his personnel. You expect more from someone making $2 million. And that's the thing. Like you had, like you could give him a pass for last season because he went through a lot of the offseason without the guys that he was expecting to play and rely on. And of course, during the season, he lost guys that that they were relying on. But year two, and with the what we perceived as an infusion of talent, especially in the skill positions, you still don't seem to really have an answer for how to create explosive plays in the passing game, and that's this point. And now you don't really. And I think one thing is now you don't even really have a Will Shipley, for example, where that he was such a versatile weapon. And a lot of Clemson fans, were frustrated with him at times last year, but teams really did game plan for him a good bit, and that was because he did have that versatility. Like Phil Maffa is a true running back. Like you're not going to see him involved in a ton of pass plays if other than blocking. Or like a leak out, he can do a leak out, but you're not going to have him out there running routes. That's what Will Shipley was able to do that. So that's another thing. So it's and especially Travis Etienne before him was able to do that. So you just don't have that. So you need to be able to have your receivers need to be able to pick up and tight ends as well. And we don't seem to know how to get them the football and get them in positions where they can make explosive plays
at all.
at all, and it's that's the ultimate key to whether or not this team will ever figure it out offensively, because everything else will be that much more difficult if teams aren't respecting your downfield passing game. So that's why screens work during the Chad Morris and Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott era, because
if you cheat down, we'll just throw it over your head for an 80-yard touchdown pass. So cheat down if you want to.
Yeah.
You're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Noah says, when is the last time you ever seen a team beat Georgia with screens? And absolutely. I mean, because they are a very good east to west team, and like it's not the screens themselves that are the problem. Like screens are very useful when implemented correctly, but when you have a team that already does not respect a whole aspect of your offense, they can that allows them to dedicate more resources to everything else. Exactly. So, like we said, but again, it's tough to beat Georgia because, like, even if a screen is the right play call there, they have legit athletes in that linebacker room and even the defensive line that can get out there in space and make a tackle. And you saw that at times, and then other times it was just the defensive backs just sitting down and because they knew it was coming. They seemed to know it was coming, at least. Young and Turnt says certain wrong personnel used on both sides. Too many line of scrimmage plays used on offense, screens, laterals, etc. Not enough stuff attacking down the field. Yeah, I mean, again, it goes right back to trying to win east to west, and when a team doesn't respect you can't. The reason you can go east to west is because teams respect your deep ball, but they don't. So everything else is that makes it that much more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the previous show last night. You're not going to dink it and dunk it down the field against Georgia. You're not going to, death by 1,000 cuts. That's not how you kill that defense. You got to go over their head. You got to make them respect the deep ball. And if you can't, like you saw, it's going to be a long day. And that's what it was.
Let me see. Hard Take says the fusion of talent doesn't help if they were on the bench. Yeah, I agree. Certainly, you certainly didn't play your better, more proven receivers. We've certainly seen more from Tyler Brown than we've seen from Adam Randall or Cole Turner. That's just the truth.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on who ran out there and who played majority of this game.
Dylan spelled says, where was Jay Haynes? Yeah, I mean, he got one carry
for negative 1 yard.
It was negative 1 yard.
One carry for negative 1 yard, and we never saw him again.
Yeah, so much for that. Didn't see really any of Keith Adams.
Didn't see any other running backs. It was just Phil Maffa.
It's like they just were terrified to go into their depth chart at all offensively.
Jay Haynes,
unless they had to.
Yeah.
They didn't trust anybody else. I was like,
I mean, Jay Haynes would be, and Phil Maffa can run outside, but Jay Haynes is going to be far more effective running those plays,
where he needs to move laterally because
laterally towards the sideline.
He has that speed.
Naturally, he's faster.
Yeah,
but
it's like, why are you playing? Because it's like if you play the younger guys and they mess up, like it's like, okay, well, I mean, it is what it is. But you're not even giving them the opportunity to screw up, and you're playing older guys that are just doing the same thing. So it's there's
no reason to come into this game and play conservative or scared. What's the worst that's going to happen? You get blown out. Guess what? You play still conservative and you got blown out.
That's what caused you to get blown out the way you did.
So you might as well just freaking, hey, let's dial it up, man. Let's go get it. If it works, it works. If it don't, hey, we tried.
Yeah, Warren Biscuit says,
sorry. Go ahead.
You can hit that one next. Warm Biscuit says App State definitely something to worry about. Yeah, I mean, and even before we saw this game, we said no matter what happens in the Georgia game, App State is a difficult Group of 5 matchup, and that's a game that if you play like you did today, like that's a game. It's like, oh, App State's up 10-6 at half. What's going on?
Oh, Clemson can't score again. Oh,
yeah,
imagine that. Crazy.
So yeah, App State is one of those teams you don't correct and you don't figure some things out.
Absolutely. You got to be ready, man.
Yeah,
you have got to be ready for that team. You'll get embarrassed.
Yep.
Much like
they have a lot of experience coming back. They have a quarterback that played really well last year. Yeah, it's because that's where we are at this point. You know, at the last time App State came to Death Valley, they lost like 45-0. Like we didn't even break a sweat. Not those teams. It's not that. I think that was 2015. Like it's not that team. You certainly don't. You don't have Deshaun Watson, and you didn't even have Mike Williams because he got hurt. He got hurt that year. But you still had Artavis Scott, Ray McLeod, and Deion Kane, and those guys. Jordan Leggett. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Tig says Dabo needs to tell players to either perform or be gone. No more of this nonsense, including coaches. I mean, and that's the mentality we were sold, at least as far as behind the scenes. That's kind of the idea. It's like, you know, you need to. If you got, you're not going to play if you don't do your job, and I'll help you find somewhere else. Whether it's a player or a coach, and that, but clearly didn't show on the offensive side of the ball. They didn't seem to get the message.
Certainly not. Scott Williams said, I tuned into the Dabo post game, and in the first 10 seconds, he said Cade played well. And the biggest thing is we didn't help him early with penalties.
Well, I won't say Cade. I don't think Cade's did not. I don't think Cade was the worst part of the offense today. No. I think that's the thing I'll say. I don't want to say he played well,
but he's still a problem.
He certainly did not. Yeah.
He didn't go out there and throw a million interceptions and fumble the ball, and he made good decisions at times. But Cade's still a problem. He's still got things that need developed. He's still got things that he definitely needs to get better at, and we don't really have time. Here's the season.
I do agree with the penalties for sure.
Yeah, I mean the penalties were a problem, and they definitely killed the first 2 to 3 drives because of penalties and just untimely mistakes from alignment to holding to all sorts of stuff. But again, Cade is still a problem in this offense.
John said Keith Adams had 1 6-yard run in that last series. I'm pretty sure. And what's funny, I was already starting to get prepped for the show during the last few minutes. So I'm sure I had the stat line, the stats pulled up, but at this point, they can't really tell me more than what I saw today. So
I mean, the stat sheet's pretty self-explanatory about how the game went.
Yeah, you were scared to go into your depth chart. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything differently when Georgia was begging you to throw it over the top, and you really didn't try. And you didn't do anything to create easy yardage for Cade, anything to get you ahead of the chains, because the traditional run game was not that effective. Although they had a couple of nice couple runs where they got a good push. It's just frustrating. It just seems like there's no answers if the initial game plan isn't working.
Unfortunately.
Let's see. Yeah, Jay says the defense didn't necessarily adjust at halftime either. Like, I don't want to say they didn't adjust, but I think Georgia's adjustments were certainly better. Like, Georgia they scored on their first drive, but then Clemson went down the field, scored. They got a field goal.
Yeah.
And then they got Clemson's defense got a stop, I believe.
They did.
Third
They
down,
got a 3 and out.
Yeah, they got a 3 and out.
Pretty sure it was a 3 and out.
Yeah.
Right after Clemson scored that field goal, and then Clemson's offense went out there and basically did nothing with it. And then the very next drive, Georgia drove down, scored a touchdown. Clemson's offense came on, did nothing. Georgia got their ball back, went down, scored another touchdown.
So think about that sequence. If the offense goes down, especially if they score a touchdown there, and then Clemson gets that stop, all of a sudden the offense has the ball, gets the ball to score and take the lead. Yeah, and you would have the lead. It would have been because it would have been 13-7 when you got the ball back. Assuming you make the extra point, but I think a lot. You have to think about the mentality, from a defensive player standpoint. You want your guys to. We like to think man, our defense needs to be resilient no matter what, and that's the mentality you want to have. But at a certain point, you're out here getting stops, and I have no reason to think that the offense is going to put any points up. And again, at one point in the late in the third quarter, David Hood had put out a tweet that Clemson had only run 36 offensive plays in 3 quarters. That's not good, man.
So terrible, man.
It's not good. It's terrible. So you're not sustaining drives at all. You're not getting you only had 2 first downs in the first half. That's not good. It's not. So I mean, that's at the end of the day, I'm certainly the defense has some things to clean up, but they they played well enough for this game to have been competitive. And you got nothing. Got nothing from the offense. Nothing.
Yep. Absolutely nothing.
All right. Let's do a couple more. I don't want this to drag on too long. Yeah, Riley felt scared of the roster. Yeah, I agree. Hustler Inc. says Trevor Lawrence set the bar so high he covered up a lot of holes. He made others around him better. I do think he did make a lot of players around him better. I mean, I think the players were just flat out around him were better too. I mean, we don't have a T. Higgins or Justin Ross right now. Well, we don't have one playing right now. Maybe we have one on the roster, but they're not playing. We don't have a Travis Etienne either. As good as Phil Maffa is, we shouldn't need him to be that for this offense to be functional. I think talking about the Clemson quarterbacks of old. It's they were great. The Deshaun Watsons, the Trevor Lawrences, they were great, but you also had it was a more complete offense around him, and you had coordinators that were mostly able to play to their personnel and know what they're and they were comfortable with using their best players, and they were comfortable playing young guys when it was apparent that they needed to be on the field. I don't know if we have that right now. I don't know if we have that. And Doc echoes my point. Yeah, fifth and talent composite, that's not the issue. Should look better on the offense even without generational quarterback play. Yeah, I mean there are teams lower than you on that have looked more functional on offense, far more functional on offense. The team right below you, Oregon, had one of the best offenses in the country last year.
Yeah, no, you got plenty of talent, plenty of really good players.
Yeah.
The coaches need to figure it out, plain and simple. The guys getting paid millions to coach football need to figure it out. Figure out your rotations, figure out what works, figure out how to scheme your guys up, figure out how to exploit what the defense does poorly, and go out there and win football games. You're not going to do the same thing week in and week out. You got a game plan. You got to put your players in the right positions in order for them to be able to execute and produce. And that solely falls on the coaches.
All right. Let's do one more. I want to. Oh, we gotta. I'll do this. This BYOG or sell from John. He says
Okay.
Riley is struggling because he's got more control than he did with Dykes and is still learning. You know, that's something that I've thought about before, but it's not something I really gave a ton of credence. I have no way of knowing that for sure, but that's certainly a possibility. I don't know.
I can't speak to that. I have no idea what Riley was.
It's a really good question, but
It's a great
I don't
question.
know.
I mean, but I don't think there's any way of knowing how much responsibility Garrett Riley did or didn't have under Sonny Dykes, or how much control he had over that offense, or how much of that offense was his versus how much of it was Sonny Dykes. I mean, I don't think there's any way of knowing that. But it's clear that he struggled since being at Clemson. And as part of that, Clemson's still trying to do some of what Clemson likes to do. And then, bringing in some of Riley's stuff or bringing in some of that Sonny Dykes style of stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know. I do know that he's the play caller and he's calling all the plays. So,
yeah, like
outside of like that and the reasons that he is struggling, I mean, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But that could be, it's possible that what you're saying could be part of the problem.
Yeah, and that's something. Again, we'll see how they respond. We'll be here to break down App State next week and really dive into it. I'm really ready to get this the taste of this game out of my mouth because man, that was Hey, I called my shot. Like I'm not disappointed that they lost. It just the way it looked. It just. And nothing looked different, and that was what was disappointing.
Right.
Nothing looked different significantly enough for me to feel good going forward. That's for sure. Again, was pleasantly surprised with the offensive line, and how they competed. But other than that, offensively, it was a dud. And
100% a dud.
I think we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. I think we got to at least a good portion of the comments. Appreciate all of you guys showing up and hanging out with us. And congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs on your win. Clemson, unfortunately, got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. And you don't have very much time because you got to turn the page. And App State's coming to town, and they may be a part of a lower league, but they're certainly not a team that you can take lightly or trot anything resembling that offense that you just did out against them and expect to have a good game. So hopefully Clemson can get back to the drawing board. Hopefully any players injured in this game have speedy recoveries, and it's nothing long-term on both sides of Clemson and Georgia. And appreciate all you guys coming and hanging out with us. Hit that like button if you haven't already on your way out. That's all I got. Go Tigers.
Later, y'all.